Welcome to JD's Corner. I'm JD and this is my corner. Today I want to give you what was to me one of the most life-giving pieces of information. As you probably watched my story, and if you haven't, you can watch that there. You'll know that I was riddled with panic attacks, many panic attacks daily, overwhelmed by it, and I was stuck in what they call the panic attack trap or the cycle. And that's when you are afraid of having another panic attack because the experience was so traumatic, but that fear of having one actually makes you more susceptible to having another. The more afraid you are of a panic attack, the more likely you are to continue having them. And the more afraid you are of how a panic attack makes you feel, the more severe the panic attack tends to be when you do experience one. And so today I want to give you the piece of information that really helped me dramatically. And I would say probably within about a week or two of really understanding this, my panic attacks completely stopped and they never came back. Now, to be fair, one of the reasons they also never came back is because of other strategies that I began to implement, and we discussed a little one in a previous video when I discussed how to purge or get rid of nervous energy, and that's a very useful strategy for battling anxiety and panic attacks. And so if you haven't watched that video, I encourage you to do that. But for now, I want to equip you with a small piece of knowledge that is crucial for taking the sting and the fear and the terror away from a panic attack. Because believe it or not, a panic attack is not dangerous. Now, that might sound crazy, especially if you've been having them. You might think, are you kidding me? It's horrendous. I hate how it makes me feel. It's terrifying. I have all these just ridiculous physical sensations, and you're correct. I never said that a panic attack was fun. I simply said it's not dangerous. It can't kill you, and it's not permanent. It can't last. And I want to explain to you why. Because if you lose the fear of a panic attack, it actually goes away. The less afraid you are of them, the less you will experience them, and the less intense your symptoms if you do happen to have one. And so I'm not gonna give you a very academic explanation. There are many medical professionals on the internet who can do that, and if you have the time, I encourage you to do that, because I do believe that the more we know about this, the better equipped we will be to handle it. But for now, I just want to give you a simple, or at least as simple as I can, an explanation as to what's going on when we're having a panic attack so that we know how to beat it and how to not have it again. So here it is. Your body has a nervous system and an endocrine system. Okay, I know we're already starting sciencey. Bear with me. Give me a minute here. So the nervous system actually has a part of it that is autonomic or automatic. And what I mean by that is that your body will respond, your nervous system responds without you having to be intentional about it. Okay? And then when that autonomic system or the automatic response takes place, the nervous system connects with your endocrine system, which is hormones. And so when your nervous system behaves or responds, it sends signals that causes your hormones to respond. Okay, why does this matter? Well, because within that autonomic nervous system, it breaks down into two portions, if you will. Your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the first one responds automatically anytime you have fear thoughts or high emotional thoughts. If you are thinking something stressful, if you are thinking something is dangerous, if you're afraid of something, your nervous system will automatically respond to that perceived threat, and it will send signals to your hormones to release within your body, because it's that fight or flight response, right? If you think that you're about to go into battle, or if you think that you're about to encounter a challenge or something that is a threat to you, your body will brace, it'll prepare, it'll tighten muscles, and the way you breathe is regulated because your body is responding to its perceived threat, okay? Now, here's why that's good news. Because we also have a parasympathetic nervous system, but all that does is it automatically responds to calming thoughts, relaxing thoughts, thinking of things I'm not afraid of and that I'm okay, that I'm safe. And so it releases also now a different response in your body. It elicits a response of calm into your body. Okay, what does this have to do with panic attacks? Well, the more a threat seems to be to you, so if you perceive a threat to be great and intense, your body releases strong, longer lasting hormones. If you perceive a threat to be minimal or not too great, your body releases weaker, less intense hormones. So think of it this way. Have you ever had someone jump scare you, just to tease you, just to play around with you? You know, how did you respond? Well, everyone, if we are jump scared, if we react, we're like, oh, and your heart races, and all of a sudden there's an adrenaline release in your body, right? You've been startled, and so your body, your nervous system responds. It releases adrenaline, and there's all this racing heart, and your breathing changes, your muscles tense. That is, if you can call it that, a baby panic attack. But because you don't stay scared, you realize everyone laughs about it, and oh, it was just a prank, it was just a joke, you don't perceive the threat to be severe, your body has a chance to calm down, and it doesn't re-trigger a more intense response. And because the threat that was perceived was seen as harmless or minimal, and you didn't continue to be afraid of it, the adrenaline that was released is actually a weaker hormone that is short-lasting, and so the body returns to a normal state very quickly. Now, if you perceive a threat to be severe, the threat of some harm coming your way, and it's prolonged, if your body perceives that it's a real threat, a significant threat, it releases a far more powerful hormone called cortisol. And cortisol elicits the same response that we experience when we have a panic attack, all these sensations of fight or flight. But cortisol can be in your bloodstream and can affect your body for up to half an hour. That's a lot longer than the minute or two that adrenaline can be in your body, up to 30 minutes. Now here's how this matters, or here's why it matters. Well, if I have a response, if I'm afraid of something, if I am stressed by something, if I'm very saddened by something, any intense emotion will elicit an automatic response from my nervous system that will release hormones into my body and start all of these physical emotions. If I have one of these and I tell myself I'm okay, I'm safe, nothing is wrong, no harm is coming my way, then my body won't release another round of this, and it'll allow myself to taper down and to calm down, and I'll release calming hormones into my body. I'll get to a place where I'm relaxed and calm. However, if I start to respond to my body, so let's say I feel threatened, or I feel scared, or I'm stressed, I'm angry, I'm sad, I have some deep emotion, and it again releases powerful hormones into my body. And let's say I start to have a panic attack. My breathing gets rough, my chest tightens, my heart races, and whatever other symptom you have, because they vary. If I start to then react no longer to the thing that made me angry, and no longer I'm not reacting to the first thing that stressed me, now I start to react to the symptom. I'm feeling my chest, now I'm extra scared about my chest. What I've actually done now is I've sent off another automatic system, another firing of hormones, another release of cortisol that brings even more symptoms. And so what tends to happen is I keep this cycle of being afraid or being bothered, being angry, a release of hormones, and then I respond to the symptoms that are associated with that release of hormones, and that triggers more release of hormones, and now I have more to respond, and I exhaust myself. Instead of letting the body come back to a state of calm, I keep it in this high alert, this state of high alert that is very, very edgy and very tense, and continues to keep me in this state of anxiety. And that's how panic attacks continue to progress. And that's why they can feel so long, they can last for so long, because I continue to respond no longer to the first thing that triggered it in the first place, but rather I continue now to respond to subsequent symptoms. And now my anger about those symptoms, or my irritation about those symptoms, releases more symptoms, and I trap myself in this panic attack cycle. And even once that has finished, let's say it finally, because cortisol really only has a lifetime of 30 minutes in the body, so at some point you have to calm down. No panic attack lasts forever. And maybe you need to hear that, because I didn't know that, and that in itself is good news. No panic attack lasts forever. It has to end. The body has only so much hormone to release. At some point you're going to be fatigued and you won't have it anymore. But if your experience was kind of traumatic, if you respond to your experience about panic attack with a fear that you're going to have another one, if you start to be afraid of having another panic attack, all you're doing is releasing more of that fight or flight, more of that stress hormone into your body, which again lowers that stress threshold we spoke of in the other video, and now you're even more susceptible to having subsequent panic attacks. And again, you get trapped in this vicious cycle. Now I want to give you how we get out of it, but we had to understand what's going on in order to understand how to stop it. Because you can't always stop the panic attack from happening, because again, it's an autonomic or an automatic response to a perceived threat, and so your body will sometimes just elicit a response. But I can now control how I respond to that. And how you respond to that will dictate how long this panic attack will last, how severe it will be, and how likely it is to have another episode. The less bothered you are by it, the more you realize that this thing won't kill you, it can't last, and that if you stop responding with more angst and fear to the symptoms themselves, they will also go away. The sooner you realize that and teach yourself, even when it's hard, I get it, when the breathing gets rough and the chest gets tight and all these other things, the heart is racing, in those moments I understand firsthand it can be a challenge to control my thinking and to assure myself that I'm going to be okay. But the sooner you build that discipline, the sooner you learn how to do that, I promise you, the sooner your panic attacks will just go away. Because if you're never afraid of them, you don't release any fear hormones. If you're not afraid of the panic attack, if you're not taking on additional subsequent stress in response to the symptoms, there will be no subsequent release of hormones. And if there's no subsequent release of hormones, there's nothing in your body to cause these symptoms to respond the way they are. So, I know the video is getting long, but here's the kicker, if you will. Here's what I think will help you, because it helped me. I understand in those moments it's really hard to be clear-headed, especially in the peak and in the very center of a panic attack or a moment of high stress. It's really hard in those situations to think clearly. So I have a very, very simple acronym. And believe me, it works, because this is what helped me, because I can remember this. I can't remember this whole video's worth of information in the heat of a panic attack, but I can remember this. CUP. C-U-P. I just want you to remember CUP. That stands for contain, underreact, and passively accept. Let me explain. C, contain. I want to contain my fear. I want to contain my fear in this moment and understand fear, or maybe it's anger or it's frustration or whatever the initial trigger was, whatever the initial emotion that started this whole process was. I want to contain it and not let it get out of hand. And sometimes if we don't learn to do that, we make things worse for us. We allow our anger to keep building, so it goes from a flicker to a large flame, or we let our fear grow and grow and grow. I need to think contain. I had an emotion. I'm allowed to have an emotion. I'm human. Feeling is okay, but I'm not going to let this thing control me. I'm going to contain it. Second is underreact. So I'm feeling an emotion right now, and I happen to be also feeling physical responses to that emotion. Okay. So my heart is racing. Okay. So my breathing seems to be difficult. Okay. My skin feels hot or tingly. Okay. My muscles feel tense. Okay. Whatever it is, whatever physical symptom, I know this is hard. I know, but I've done it myself, so I know it works. whatever physical symptom I'm having in the moment, just underreact. Underreact so that I don't re-release more hormone into my body and make this thing worse. I'm just gonna underreact. And then P, passively accept. It's happening right now. I'm not gonna let that frustrate me. I don't care where I am. I don't care what my surroundings are right now. I'm just gonna passively accept the fact that in this moment, I may be having a panic attack. In this moment, I may be feeling stressed, but this moment won't last. If it's just adrenaline, it'll be done in 2-3 minutes. If it happens to be cortisol, so what? The most it'll go is half an hour. That's okay. Life goes on. I will be okay. I'm going to passively accept the fact that this is happening to me, and I'm not going to respond to it with further angst and further fear. It's okay. Just by switching your mindset into that of containing, underreacting, and passively accepting that this is what's going on, you will immediately start to lose fear of panic attacks because you've lived through them. You have survived 100% of your worst days. Think about that. And you right now have survived every single panic attack you've ever had. And so you know it can't kill you. And the more you start to realize that, you know what, this isn't terrible. So I don't like how I feel, that's okay. I'm not gonna feel like this forever. I'm gonna contain my emotion, I'm gonna underreact to my symptoms, and I'm gonna passively accept that right now this is where we're at, but we're not gonna be here forever, and that's okay. As soon as that becomes a regular practice, a regular intentional response from your behalf to how you're feeling, you will immediately disarm the strength of a panic attack, and you will see that they will stop. They will stop. And even if you still get them, you'll notice they're far weaker, less intense, and they won't last as long because they have nothing to feed off of. A panic attack doesn't exist out there, it exists in here. It's how your body is responding to a perceived threat or intense emotion. And if you just tell your body, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and we'll make a video on how to do that better. But you start to purge nervous energy, you breathe, you just focus. If all you do is focus on your breathing and you don't respond with intensity, you will stop having panic attacks. You will. And there's going to be more strategies that I will share with you, just how to overall lower that residual tension that's in your body and your mind, and how to learn to identify when we're actually building up, because sometimes we can build tension and it builds and builds and builds, and we don't realize until we have a panic attack because we've hit that tipping point. I'm going to make another video teaching you how to learn to be self-aware and observe that, hey, I'm building some tension here. Let me use one of my strategies to purge that. But if you just focus on cup, containing, underreacting, and passively accepting, and you recognize that there's nothing to be afraid of, and truly, you will have victory over your panic attacks. Well, I hope this has been helpful. I do ask, please, it'll help the channel a lot, that if you like this content, if you have found it helpful, please share it with your loved ones. It would mean a lot if you would subscribe. That helps the channel, and I do look forward to connecting with you in the future and posting more content. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's helpful. All right, you take care. We'll see you later.